warm and auspicious Shri Radha Ashtami. Most people ignorantly think that Shri Krishna and Shri Radha are like Lakshmi and Vishnu, or Shiva and Parvati, but it is not so. Lakshmi and Vishnu, as are Parvati and Shiva, they are eternal consorts. Shri Krishna is the absolute divine power. There's a question in the Gopal Tapanya Upanishad glorifying the supremacy of Shri Krishna. Kam Paramo Devaha. Who is the greatest Dev? Who is the greatest supreme power? Kasyan Mrityur Vibheti. Who is he who scares even the God of death? Kasya Jnanena Khilam Gyatam Bhavati. And who is he by knowing whom one attains all knowledge, perfect knowledge? So the answer given is Krishno Havai Paramam Daivatam. Shri Krishna is that supreme Brahma, absolute divine power. And death personified trembles before Shri Krishna. And it is only by attaining Shri Krishna that one attains perfect divine knowledge. So Shri Krishna is that absolute supreme divinity. For example, you have a father, but your father's father is the progenitor of the human race, Manu. Manu's father was Brahma, the creator of the world, of this Brahmand. And Brahma's father is Shri Krishna. And who is Shri Krishna's father? No one. Shri Krishna does not have a father. He is the father of all. And everything that is related to Shri Krishna is absolutely infinite and unlimited. His names are unlimited, his forms are unlimited, his virtues are unlimited, his pastimes are unlimited, his abodes are unlimited, his saints are unlimited, his souls are unlimited. Everything is simply unlimited that is related to Shri Krishna. And to glorify this, it is described in the biography of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji, Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is described, Krishner Ananta Shakti Tate Teen Pradhan, Jeev Shakti, Chit Shakti, Maya Shakti, Jeev Shakti Naam, Antaranga, Bahiranga, Tatastha Kahi Jare, Antaranga, Swarupa Shakti, Sabar Upare. So out of the countless infinite powers of God, Shri Krishna, 3 are prominent, 3 are chief. Chit Shakti, which is God's personal intimate power, Maya Shakti, the material power, and Jeev Shakti, all the souls. And these 3 are respectively known as antaranga, personal power. Bahiranga, which is the material power, it is the external potency. And tatastha, the marginal power of God. And the same is expressed in the Vishnu Puran. Vishnu Shakti Para Prokta Kshetra Gyakhya Tatha Para Avidya Karma Sangyan Ya Tritiya Shakti Rishyate. Vishnu Puran. Khladini Sandhini Samvitvayeka Sarva Sanchraye Khladita Pakri Mishra Tvaino Gunavarjite. Vishnu Puran. So the same is expressed, described in the Vishnu Puran. Further, Chaitanya Charitamrita describes that the Chit Shakti, also known as Swarup Shakti, has 3 classifications. Sat Chit Anand hoye Krishner Swarup Atev Swarup Shakti hoye 3 Roop. Anandanshe Haladini Chidanshe Sambit. Anandansh se Haladini, Sadan se Sambit, Chidan se. So there are 3. So the Chit, the Sat aspect of Swarup Shakti is Sandhini, becomes Sandhini, the power of almightiness. The Chit aspect of Swarup Shakti is Samvit, which is the power of knowledge. And the Anand aspect of Swarup Shakti becomes Haladini. Haladini, or the power of blissfulness. So these are interrelated. They are interrelated. So Sat is dependent on Chit, and Sat and Chit in turn are dependent on Anand. We have heard the name, a name of God, Sat Chit Anand. So how are these? What is the relationship of these 3? So as I just mentioned, that Sat is included in Chit, and Sat and Chit are included in Anand. And therefore, God's name, Sat Chit Anand, or Chidanand, or even Anand. Anando Brahmeti Vyajanat Ved. Anand Mayo Bhyasat, the Vedant. So this Hladini Shakti of God is the sweetest and the most potent power of God. So the power of almightiness, or the power of creation, the power of knowledge and action, are all under the control of Hladini Shakti. Of Hladini Shakti. So what does this power do? Kartum makartum manyatha kartum samarth. By virtue of this power, by virtue of this Hladini Shakti, or the power of blissfulness, God does whatever He wishes. He does whatever He desires or contemplates. And He can do the opposite, contrary to whatever He desires. And yet at the same time, He can do the opposite of both of these conflicting situations. So what does this power do? For example, we have eyes. So the function of the eyes is to perceive, is to visualize. That is what our eyes do. But with our eyes, we cannot smell, we cannot hear. No. They only perform one function, and that is to perceive. That's all. But God can see, He can taste, He can smell, He can hear, He can touch. He does everything. This is the miracle of Haladini Shakti, of Haladini power. This is what it does. So without His senses, God is all-seeing and all-knowing. Without His senses. So this is the miracle of Haladini Shakti. And by virtue of this power, God creates uncountable Brahmans also. And as Paramatma, He keeps an account of the uncountable good and bad actions of uncountable souls, of their uncountable lifetimes, in uncountable Brahmans. And yet, He remains ever blissful, always smiling. You see, in the world, in a family of a few people, people remain just through their interactions and associations with each other, owing to their own personal motives and their desires. People are always feeling troubled and feeling restless and disturbed because of someone or the other in the family, just a few people consisting of mother, father, grandparents, children. Everyone's demanding their own things always, and there's all this bickering and whining and all of this going on within just one family. And think about it, God's family is so big, all His children, uncountable children He has, and yet they don't remember Him, they ignore Him, neglect Him, take Him for granted. They're all wayward, and yet He keeps an account of all of their actions and is ever smiling, undisturbed. Our unfaithful thoughts never affect Him. So this is the miracle of Haladini power, Haladini Shakti. Now, this power of bliss in its concentrated form is known as divine love. Divine love. And so this is the main dominating power that is fully independent, and it controls all other powers of God. As a rule, powers cannot stay on their own and without a base. So they dwell within, or they stay in absolute divinity. And that absolute divinity in personified form is Supreme Brahma Shri Krishna. We have heard a name of Shri Krishna, Sarva Shaktiman. Sarva means all, Shakti, powers, Man, embodiment of. So Shri Krishna is the embodiment of all the divine powers. He embodies all the divine powers. They stay within Him, His own personality. And the nature of divine powers is also, they are personified. They manifest in a personified form and represent godly dignity. Thus, all the divine powers are in fact personified. They're all forms of God, but they are subordinate, dependent, and governed by Sri Krishna Himself, who is the supreme, absolute supreme divinity, Sri Krishna. Moreover, in every Brahmand or solar system, there are three essential personalities or authorities, you can say, and they manage the affairs of every Brahmand. Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma. So the powers of Vishnu are Lakshmi, Durga, and Bhudevi. The powers of Shiva are Gauri and Kali, and the power of Brahma is Saraswati. So Vishnu creates and protects, manages and protects. Shiva destroys when the time of dissolution or destruction comes. And Brahma, he creates. So there are infinite Brahmans and infinite galaxies in the entire universe. In this way, there are infinite Vishnu, infinite Shiva, and infinite Brahma. And all of these, Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma, collectively are governed by another supreme divine personality, authority, known as Mahavishnu. Yasyai kanishvasit kalamathavalambya jivanti loma vilaja jagadandanatha Vishnur mahan sa iha yasya kala vishesho Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Bhagavad Brahma Samhita. So this Mahavishnu, he is the governor of all of these Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma collectively. And Mahavishnu is a beam. He is simply a beam of Shri Krishna's divine glory, a partial manifestation. That's why Brahmaji says that I am the servitor of Shri Krishna, whose partial manifestation is Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu. So the Chaitanya Charitamrita again says, Khladini sar anshitar prem naam anand chinmay ras premer akhyan premer param sar mahabhav jani sei mahabhav roop Radha Thakurani. So the Chaitanya Charitamrita tells us that the quintessence of Hladini power, which is divine love, also known as prem or bhakti, divine love, and this divine love has further 8 classifications, or this bhakti, prema bhakti, Sneh Bhakti, Man Bhakti, Pranay Bhakti, Rag Bhakti, Anurag Bhakti, Bhav Bhakti, and culminating in Mahabhav Bhakti. Mahabhav. So divine love is a product of its own original source. And that source is Mahabhav. And that Mahabhav or Mahabhav is Radha Rani herself. Mahabhav is Radha Rani. Her divine personality is Mahabhav. So in essence, Sri Radha is the origin of all the divine powers. Of all the divine powers, and Shri Krishna, along with his powers, adores and worships and submits to Sri Radha. To Sri Radha. So Sri Radha is the absolute, supreme sovereign of the entire divine phenomena, Sri Radha. And she, Radha Rani, is worshipped by Sri Krishna. By Sri Krishna. The saint Ras Khan, he was confused. He had a doubt. People say that Sri Krishna is a servant of Radhaji, of Radha Rani. But in the Hindu tradition generally, as it is a tradition, the wife serves the husband. The wife is the one who serves the husband, but over here, the situation has reversed. What is that situation? Sri Krishna is gently and very softly pressing Sri Radha's lotus feet. So Ras Khan said, how is this possible? Why is it like this with Sri Radha and Krishna? Why? What is the reason? So Ras Khan thought that Sri Radha was merely Sri Krishna's wife. However, when he became God realized, and when Sri Krishna appeared before Ras Khan, Sri Krishna bestowed the vision. And what was that vision? He bestowed the vision of Dekhyo duryo kunj kutir mein baithyo palotat radhika payan. So when Sri Krishna bestowed his divine vision upon Ras Khan, what he saw was Sri Krishna is gently pressing Sri Radha's lotus feet. And then he bestowed this understanding on Ras Khan that he ever remains in the service of his soul beloved Radha. He is ever engaged in her divine service, while he himself is served by his eternal consort, Lakshmi, or his wife. But he himself serves his own soul, Sri Radha. Just as our body serves us, our true identity, we, the soul. So the body serves the soul. And our soul, we, the soul, are an eternal servant of Sri Krishna. Jivera swarup hoye Krishnera nitya das. That is our true nature, is that we are servants, das of Sri Krishna. And Sri Krishna is the das, or the servant of his own soul, Sri Radha. Jivan, Jivan, Govinda Radhe, Sham, Sham, Jivan, Shama, Bata De. Radha Govind Geet. That Sri Krishna is the soul of all the individual souls, of the uncountable souls. But the soul of Sri Krishna is Sri Radha. Sri Radha. Now, to summarize what I just explained, The Radhika Upanishad describes Tasya Shaktiyastva Haladini Sandhini Gyaniksha Kriyadya Bahubidha Shaktayah Tasva Haladini Variyasi Paramantarang Bhuta Radha Krishnena Aradhyate Iti Radha Krishnam Samaradhayati Sadeti Radhika Sa Eka Eveshwarah Tasya Havai Dve Tanuhu Narayano Khil Brahmandadhirpate Rekongshah Ye Yam Radha Yascha Krishno Rasabdhir Dehe Naikah Kridanartham Dvidha Bhut Radha Vai Harihi Sarveshwari. So God has innumerable powers, and out of his innumerable powers, the chief ones are the power of blissfulness, the power of almightiness, the power of knowledge, power of action. The power of blissfulness in its concentrated form, or the quintessence of Haladini Shakti, is divine love. Shri Krishna worships Shri Radha, and that is why she is known as Radha. Radhaiva radhyate maya. Shri Krishna, in his absolute divine form, manifests into Radha and Krishna in two forms. And as Sri Maharaji has revealed in the Radha Govind Geet, Yoto Radha Krishna Govind Radhe Ek the hai rahenge bhi bata de Kintu Leela hit Govind Radhe Do the hai rahenge bhi bata de. So, for the sake of performing leelas to glorify and to delight the hearts of the souls, they manifest that one single divine love power, manifest as Sri Radha and Krishna, to perform, to rejoice us, the souls, to perform those leelas, those pastimes. So divine love dwells within Radha Rani. Shri Krishna worships Sri Radha, his own soul. However, anyone who makes even the slightest distinction or discriminates even remotely forever will deprive themselves of Sri Krishna's divine grace. And not only that, such an individual would enter into darkness. So such is the supremacy of and the glory of Sri Radha. Now, while what I just shared may seem overwhelming, Radha Rani is extremely kind, benevolent, and infinitely gracious. Needless to say, we all, as individual souls bound by Maya, we're all aspiring for her grace. We're all aspiring. We're all beggars of God's love. The question is, how would we receive that love? How? So saints in our history, through their countless dissensions, they have revealed the secret. And they tell us that we the souls, we should cultivate and nurture sentiments that Sri Radha alone is mine. Nurture and cultivate these sentiments. Meri thi, meri hai, meri rahegi bhi shama, dridh vishwas rahe, yah आठु यामा. So we should cultivate these sentiments. The question is, how can we? How can we? What is the process? What do we have to do? So just as when we build a home, what's the first thing that happens? A foundation. You lay the foundation. Foundation is constructed. And so now we wish to build the palace of divine sentiments for Sri Radha. And how are we going to do it? So the scriptures tell us. They tell us, Tasmad Bharata Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvaro Hari Shrotavyah Kirtitavyascha Smaratavyascha Chata Bhayam. There are numerous devotional practices that one can adapt. But Shukdev Paramhans has made it easy for us. He simplified the practice, and he tells us in the Bhagavatam that it's threefold. That process is threefold: Shravan, Kirtan, and Smaran. And Sri Maharaji has made it very simple for us. Shravan means listening to the principles and the knowledge of the scriptures. But Sri Maharaji has done the hard work for us. We did not have to go and read the scriptures, study the scriptures, rack our brains to understand and to comprehend. No. He has already done all of that for us and brought that knowledge to us in an easy to understand, simple form, so that our intellects, our intelligence can digest, can absorb knowledge in a simplified form. And Sri Maharaji has revealed numerous divine kirtans, the divine names and the virtues and the leelas, the pastimes of Sri Radha Krishna, in the form of his divine revelations and compositions and Premras Madhira, and so many different chantings, kirtans that Sri Maharaji has revealed. And not only that, he has taught us the process of loving remembrance, smaran. So he has already done the hard work for us. What do we have to do? All we have to do is imbibe. We have to only imbibe the nectar, the ras of his hard work. That's all we have to do. And how much simpler could it get? How much simpler could it get? He's already done everything for us. But we are ungrateful. That's who we are. Ungrateful. Why? Because we're too busy trying to impress people around us. That is what we're doing. From dawn to dusk, we mechanically work to impress others, to be adored by them, and to win their favor. With a single-minded preoccupation, we work so hard. We try our best to speak, to do, and to behave in ways that impress others. That is what we do. Concealed within all of our activities is that singular aim. And what is that aim? People should admire me. I should be admired. I should be adored. I should be recognized. Like a celebrity, may I win the hearts of everyone around who are so busy trying to impress. And because of that, we remain. We resist that grace due to our own ignorance. So if we wish to elevate ourselves spiritually, Sri Maharaji has admonished us for welcoming praise and attention and appreciation and disregarding criticism. So as a spiritual aspirant, we should not be concerned with impressing others. We should be more, in fact, concerned with loving, submitting, offering our heart in all humility, realizing that we are fallen, downtrodden, destitute, negligible souls, carrying all those sins within us. In all sincerity, submit and offer our heart and mind at the lotus feet of God. So Sri Maharaji has urged us repeatedly to engage in sadhana, do sadhana. Stop worrying about other people and trying to entertain them. No. Time is short. So these three processes or these three essential forms of sadhana, Sri Maharaji has given them a name. Sri Maharaji calls them, in other words, Shravan Bhakti, Kirtan Bhakti, and Smaran Bhakti. Sri Maharaji calls them Bhakti Yoga Sadhana. And even within this sadhana, the very core or the essence of this sadhana is loving remembrance of Sri Radha Krishna, loving remembrance, lovingly meditating on their divine form. In 2007, some of you here may remember, during the farewell speech that Sri Maharaji gave, that was the day Sri Maharaji was leaving, physically leaving this dham, when Sri Maharaji visited the US. So Sri Maharaji said that over the course of so many weeks, I have served you all through my satsangs, my association, my lectures, and kirtans, and in so many ways to elevate you, to uplift you. Now I want you all to reciprocate that. I want you all to repay me for what I have done for you. And so what did Sri Maharaji ask us? Sri Maharaji asked us for Guru Dakshina. Guru Dakshina, repayment for the services rendered by one's Guru or spiritual teacher. So what Guru Dakshina Sri Maharaji asked for? Sri Maharaji asked for not for himself, but for us. Sri Maharaji urged all of us to deepen, to do, to grow, to enhance our Rup Dhyan, loving remembrance of the Lord, of God. So loving remembrance, known as Smaran Bhakti, Sri Maharaji calls it Rup Dhyan Sadhana. Rup Dhyan means remembering the form. So do Rup Dhyan. Yes. And so Rup Dhyan is the very heart and soul of any and every practice. Any and every practice. It is the quintessence or the core of every practice. And without loving remembrance, any and every practice is just like a physical body without the life force. It's a corpse. It has no value whatsoever. So Sri Maharaji has always emphasized this one practice of Rup Dhyan. Yes. Engaging our mind in loving remembrance. So, how to engage our mind? Well, there are countless ways to engage our mind in the loving remembrance. Just as, for example, a devotee sings the glories and the virtues and the leelas of God and absorbing his mind in their loving thoughts. Another offers various kinds of delicious delicacies to the Lord and remaining oblivious to the outer world. Another may decorate the deities in a temple, embellish them, adorn them with various kinds of shringar and decorations. And yet, another devotee could be decorating just in their mind their self-created image of the Lord and absorbing their mind in some lila, loving pastimes. So there are so many different ways to engage our mind in that loving remembrance. So many ways. There was once there lived a saint in Barsana who worshipped Radharani. He had deep and profound faith in Sri Radharani's lotus feet. Every day he would go to the temple of Shriji Mandir, of Shriji, to have darshan. So one day he noticed that some devotees were offering a dress to Radharani, and overcome by emotion, he thought, I have never ever offered anything to Radharani. Nothing, ever. Some devotees, they offer flowers, and some offer bhog, and some offer a dress. And I have never offered anything to Radharani. What kind of a devotee am I? So that very day he decided, I'm going to stitch a dress for Radharani and offer it to her. So thinking like this, he began the preparations, and he made a very beautiful dress. It took him a full month. And so thereafter, he started for the temple to offer the dress to Radharani. Now there's a long flight of stairs, some of you may know, to the top of the hill where Shriji Mandir is located. So he was halfway there when a little girl approached him and asked, "Baba, what are you bringing? What do you have in your hand?" "Oh, Lali, I have a dress that I made, and I'm on my way to the temple to offer it to Radharani." So that little girl said, "But Radharani has a lot of dresses. Why don't you give this one to me?" So the saint said, "Oh, Lali, I will get you one from the market, but as for this one, I stitched it especially for Radharani. I will get you one from the market, don't worry." But the little girl became persistent. She grabbed a hold of his shawl and started begging him for that dress. Now the saint too, he became stubborn and resisted. And even though he resisted letting her have the dress, somehow that little girl, she maneuvered the dress from his hand and she took off and disappeared. Now the saint was devastated and terribly heartbroken. Being old, he couldn't run after her to go find her, so he just sat on the stairs, on the steps, and he began crying. So other devotees who were on their way to the mandir, they saw him crying and they inquired of him, "What is the matter?" So he narrated the entire incident. And he said, "Well, I made that dress with great effort, and I was going to the temple to offer it to Radharani, but this little girl came and snatched it from my hands, and she's gone, and I don't know what to do." So those devotees said that whatever was meant to happen has now happened. But do you mean to just sit here and keep lamenting over the dress? Why don't you come and have darshan? So even though the saint had stopped crying, but he still felt anguish for not being able to fulfill his desire to offer that dress to Radharani. So he started and to make his way to the temple. And on the way, he started to think that perhaps it wasn't Radharani's wish. Maybe she didn't want me to offer that dress to her. And so with a heavy heart, he went to the temple. And upon reaching, the darshan was opening. So the saint was amazed. He was amazed to see that the dress that little girl snatched from him was now being worn by Radharani. It was being worn by Radharani. And when he saw, tears began to stream from his eyes. And he said that Radharani, "Oh Kishori ji, I was bringing this dress for you only, to offer to you. But you couldn't even wait that long that you had to come and snatch it from me." So Radharani said, "It is not just a dress. Every fiber of this dress is infused with your love. And to receive such love, I have to run without delay to receive such love." So we have to love Radharani. And to grow our love for her, we have to remember her. Remember her. Just as we do in the world, we do exactly that in the world. Whatever emotions, sentiments we have within us for our loved ones, how did that happen? Just through repetitive thinking. Repetitive remembrance is all it is. Repetitive. And even though worldly love has no power whatsoever, but just remembering repeatedly about the virtues and the attributes of those whom we feel an attachment to, we feel an affinity for, we have developed that deep attachment. But when we transfer that, when we steer those feelings of love and passion and emotions toward Radharani, remember her, dedicate our heart and mind, then we will begin to feel her grace. We will begin to feel an affinity for her. And even though Sri Maharaji tells us that there are so many ways that we can engage our mind in her loving remembrance, the simplest and the easiest and the most effective practice that we can adapt is chanting. Just chant her divine names. Radhe Radhe Gaye Ja Govind Radhe Asu Bahaye Ja Jag Ko Bhula De. Radha Govind Geet. So just remember, chant Radhe Radhe, and the power of Radhe name will inspire those feelings within us. Within us. And when our love for Radharani will grow, when we will feel that closeness with her and really feel within us that she is truly ours, then our heart will melt. Then when our heart will melt, then our eyes will shed tears. Those tears will cleanse our heart. And the more our heart becomes cleansed, the closer she will become. She will come to us. And when our heart will become fully cleansed and purified, then Sri Radha will grace us with her divine vision. And upon receiving her divine vision, we will receive her divine servitude, her divine seva. And that will be the day when we would be celebrating Radha Ashtami in the true sense. The very purpose of Sri Radha Ashtami would be served, it would be gratified. Shrimat Sadguru Sarkar ki, Shrimat Yugal Sarkar ki, Pyari Pyari Radha Rani ki. तू ही तो है मेरी एक राधा रानी, मैं भी तू हूँ एक तेरी राधा रानी।
तू ही है मेरी एक राधा रानी, मैं भी तू मेरी राधा रानी। तू ही तो है मेरी एक राधा रानी, मैं भी तो हूँ एक तेरी राधा रानी। तू ही तो है मेरी एक राधा रानी। तू ही मेरी स्वामिनी राधा रानी। तू ही मेरी जीवन राधा रानी। तू ही मेरी जीवन राधा रानी। तू ही तो है मेरी एक राधा रानी, मैं भी तो हूँ एक तेरी राधा रानी। तू तो है कृपा की मूर्ति मेरी राधा रानी। लाज लखी रती सूरती तेरी राधा रानी। लाज लखी रती सूरती तेरी राधा रानी। तू ही तो है मेरी एक राधा रानी, मैं भी तो हूँ एक तेरी राधा रानी। तेरी कृपा तू ही हो जाने तो ही राधा रानी। तेरी कृपा तेरी को माने तो ही राधा रानी। तेरी कृपा तेरी को माने तो ही राधा रानी। तू ही तो है मेरी राधा रानी, मैं भी तो हूँ एक तेरी राधा रानी। तेरी कृपा ते ही पायो ब्रह्म तनु राधा रानी। तेरी कृपा ते ही पायो ब्रह्म राधा रानी। तेरी कृपा ते ही ब्रह्म लीलाधारी राधा रानी। तेरी कृपा से ही ब्रह्म लीलाधारी राधा रानी। मेरा मन विषयों का मधुकर राधा रानी। मेरा मन विषयों का मधुकर राधा रानी। तू बना ले निज पद मधुकर राधा रानी। तू बना ले निज पद मधुकर राधा रानी। तू ही तो है मेरी एक राधा रानी। मैं भी तो हूँ एक तेरी राधा रानी। अब तो लगा ले और मोही मेरी राधा रानी। अब तो लगा ले और मोही मेरी राधा रानी। भटकत थक गए राधा रानी। भटकत थक गए राधा रानी। तू ही तो है मेरी एक राधा रानी। मैं भी तो हूँ एक तेरी राधा रानी। तू बिनु है तो सने ही राधा रानी। तो बिनु है तो सने ही राधा रानी। बिनु साधन अपना मोही राधा रानी। बिनु साधन अपना ले मोही राधा रानी। चाहे अपनाए चाहे ठुकराए राधा रानी। चाहे अपनाए चाहे ठुकराए राधा रानी। अब तो कृपालु पाछा छोड़ नहीं राधा रानी। अब तो कृपालु पाछा छोड़ नहीं राधा रानी। तू ही तो है मेरी एक राधा रानी। मैं भी तो हूँ एक तेरी राधा रानी। मैं भी तो हूँ एक तेरी राधा रानी। राधे 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 राधे। राधे 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 तू ही तो है मेरी एक राधा रानी मैं भी तो हूँ एक मेरी राधा रानी मैं भी तो हूँ एक तेरी राधा रानी तू ही तो है मेरी एक राधा रानी।
बोलिए मेरी सरकार की
जय।
श्रीमद सद्गुरु सरकार की
जय।
Welcome to Sri Raseshwari Radha Rani Temple. Thank you, Sushree Diwakari Devi ji. Didi ji, we lovingly call her Didi ji, for leading us all with the Sunday satsang. It has been most enlightening and inspirational. Special thanks again, Didi ji.